welcome to Michelle's Digital Touch-Up. I am finding this so hard to keep it under 10 minutes. So you know me, I tend to blather about tat and crap. So let's get straight to the point. I had an email quite a long time ago. And I'm really sorry I can't remember your name, so if you want to let me know, I'll mention you in next week's podcast or next whenever the next podcast turns out. But I think it was a he, asked me to do a podcast on sorry about the noise. Do a podcast on supersaturation and contrasted images. And if I give you a quick before, that's what the image looked like out of the RAW as it saved to JPEG. That was sent off to the paper because that prints perfectly. Could have done with a little bit more contrast, but yeah. And this is what happens after you've done 3 adjustment layers. Looks pretty funky and it's very high contrast. It's not actually high contrast, the illusion of high contrast is created by the hue and saturation levels. And it does have a bit more contrast, mainly because the original image just didn't have much contrast. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of all these, chuck them down in the bin, and open my first, which is hue saturation. Not doing anything there at the moment. Go into curves, doing something in here, because this image really does need some kind of contrast, extra contrast. So in the dark sort of area of the curves box, I'm just going to add some contrast. Never do it in the middle. Well, I never personally do it in the middle. It's up to a personal choice thing. I never put the S curve in the middle because it just increases the contrast on the faces, usually of Caucasians, you know, white people. But it just doesn't work very well. It just looks a mess. So do it in the lower, darker areas of the image, and that looks fine. So quick before and after. I'm gonna grab this white point and just bring it down a bit because it's got shiny metal, which is a nightmare. So just add a bit of contrast just to oomph it up a bit. That would print pretty well in the paper, but you know, ended up with that. Didn't think they'd use it, but they did, so never mind. Right, back to hue saturation we had earlier. Going into the master drop downy box thing, starting with the reds. Watching these things mainly, but I'll show you a little lovely trick that I got from Radiant Vista, which is to grab a saturation and go 100%. Mainly so you can see where your pixels are you're going to be mucking about with. If you sort of start with that and then go up, it doesn't tend to work so well because you tend to have more saturation than you actually need because you're not looking at the thing that's super saturated. As it stands, it is their cloaks and the poppies these gentlemen are wearing, and their faces as well. So starting at 100, coming back down, probably to about 3. You're probably going, why are you putting more red in? Because I'm going to do another saturation thing. And you'll see why in a minute. So for this particular sort of way of doing it, don't add too much red because it tends to blow out details as well. The red channel does. Well, the colour red tends to blow out details and doesn't print very well in any format. So moving on anyway. Yellows, bring that right up, let's have a look. So what you're actually doing is balancing the saturation of colour at the moment. The yellows do need to come up. Everything needs to be kind of on the same level of saturation. Not the same number, don't get me wrong, it's never the same number, it's a visual thing. I've got greens where there shouldn't be greens, so I'm just going to get rid of those. Going down to the cyan. So I'm just going to visually balance the cyan colour with all the other colours, which leaves it at 45. And if you go to yellows, that's 48. Reds is 3, so it is, going down to blues now by the way, it is kind of a visual thing rather than a numbers thing. Bring some blue in there, magentas. I'm going to move this out of the way so you can see where I'm looking. I'm looking at this girl's legs here because she's wearing pink trousers, so I can bring that in, balance that up lovely. Just notice he's going a bit woo, so I'm going to bring that down a tad. So there we go. So all the colours are actually balanced now. If I just turn it off and on, you see they're visually balanced, sort of visually the same level of saturation. That's why we use 2 hue saturation dialog boxes. So we're going to go for another one. And we're just going to use the master saturation up to 100. Bring it back down till it looks pretty funky. Now if you look at the red clothes that the mayor and the deputy mayor are wearing, the mayor is the woman and the deputy mayor is the man with the glasses. And you can see why we didn't go too mad on the other one with the reds. So we've increased the overall saturation now, but I've noticed everybody looks slightly pink, so we need to move the hue. Now, I don't click and drag. I'll click in the hue box, where it says 0 at the moment. I'll use the up and down arrow keys, so I'm just going to come up. 3 is too much, 2 is fine. So I'm going to click OK, and just turn this one off and on again. That's where you get the saturation oomph from, but you just need to balance the saturation of all the colours with the other one. So otherwise it just look naff. And that's it. I think I've kept this under sort of 10 minutes, which would be nice. A quick before, da-na-na, and a quick after, da-na-na. Blue's a bit too much, so you can always go back into the other one. Go to your blues or your cyan. I think it's cyan actually. I'm just going to bring them in a bit more. So click OK. Yeah, it looks better, much better. His trousers are a bit blue, and you go in and you just fiddle around. It's not a quick, and you can't action. Well, you can action this, but you'd only be able to sort of action the fact these things come up, rather than any kind of adjustments. So anyway, time is pressing on, my friends. If you're on YouTube and you are watching this, give me loads of ratings and say good things about it. If you're watching this on iTunes, my friends, I love you. You stuck with me for so long. Ghetto podcasting rocks, baby. Big up the revolution. What else? If you want to see if there is anything you want to know about using Photoshop, please leave a comment on the blog. I think you can email me off it. If you can't, don't worry about it. Just leave me a comment, because I do read all the comments that are posted on the blog, just to make sure you're not saying nasty things about me, mainly, which is true. And when you do say nice things, I get all warm and fuzzy inside. So leave a comment on the blog if you want to see anything. Also, there's a Flickr group that, you know, hardly anybody's talking on or posting to. Hello, that's what it's there. If you do something that uses any of the techniques in any of these podcasts that I've done, YouTube subscribers, you might want to go to iTunes and have a look at the previous ones, or the blog, which is digitaltouchup.blogspot.com. They've done loads. But yeah, guys, just post your pictures. I mean, it's more of a community thing, and if there's anything you want to talk about, just set something up. People do go on there, they're just afraid to talk to each other. So that is pretty much it. Right, I really have to go now, so thank you very much for watching Michelle's Digital Touch Up. I've been Michelle, you've been watching my podcast. Until next time, take care and goodbye.